Everything should look disgusting in this mirror. Just look at this. It's so ugly. Look, it's so skewed. Our teachers are changing controls. Show this mirror to the whole world. Let's spread discord and confusion among the people. We will get all humans to look into the mirror. Look at these ugly reflections. Let's find all of them. Shards of the mirror scattered around the world. That's good. Shards of the broken mirror will bring even more evil to the world. In a large town, there lived a boy and a girl, Kay and Gerda. They lived next door to each other, but anybody who saw them playing together would have thought they were brother and sister. The town was so crammed with houses that the people had no place for gardens. They were content with a couple of flower pots. But the children had something just about as good as a garden. At the place where the roofs of the two houses met, they had large wooden boxes with vegetables and lovely rose bushes. Sometimes they took their stools and sat among the bushes and pretended that they were in their own big garden. But when the winter came, the children could no longer sit outside. They had to be content with playing inside the house. One day, Gerda and Kay were sitting by the window in Kay's house. Kay's grandmother, who was looking at the snowflakes, said quietly,
"The white bees are swarming."
Kay and Gerda looked at her in surprise.
"Grandma, do the bees have a queen?"
Kay asked.
"Oh, yes, they do,"
said Grandma.
"Where the swarm hangs in thick clusters, she flies there. Sometimes she flies into towns and peeps in through the windows. When she does that, the most beautiful patterns form on the window pane. Have you both seen this happen?"
Kay and Gerda nodded. They'd seen it many times, so Grandma was telling the truth. That evening, when Kay was sitting by the window alone, he saw something remarkable. He noticed that one snowflake was larger and prettier than the rest and sparkled in the moonlight. The flake of snow grew larger and larger, and at last it was like a young lady dressed in the finest white gauze made of a million little flakes like stars. She was so beautiful and delicate. But she was made of dazzling, sparkling ice and was so full of life. She turned around to look at Kay. She nodded towards the window and beckoned with her hand. Kay was frightened and jumped down from the box. It seemed to him as if, at the same moment, a large bird flew past the window. The next day was very different. There was snowfall at first, but afterwards the sun shone brightly. Kay and Gerda cheered up because green leaves were sprouting on the trees, the birds were singing, and the windows were thrown wide open. That summer was very special because the roses that bloomed were prettier than ever before. Gerda learned a hymn that mentioned roses. She sang it to Kay, and he liked it very much. They immediately sang it together.
"The rose in the valley is blooming so sweet, and angels descend there the children to greet."
They felt so good after singing it that they went around kissing the roses. They enjoyed that summer thoroughly, and their memories were full of fresh rose bushes, warm sunshine, and laughter.
"Kay, we haven't taken care of the flowers flowers for quite some time now.
Yes, we have to clean it up. Can you help us with the cleaning? First, let's pull out all these weeds.
Good job. Now the flowers can grow without any hindrance. What's next? I think we have to cut down all the dry branches and leaves. We need hedge clippers for this job.
If the branches grow longer than they are now, they will look untidy. We should trim them down. Excellent. Now we need to water the flowers. We need a watering can. What is this book you have in your hands, Gerda?
This is an encyclopedia of animals. We need to place each animal close to its own silhouette on the map. Help us. That's right. This is a giraffe. Exactly. This is an elephant. It lives in Asia and Africa. It is the biggest land animal in the world. Of course, the reindeer live only in the northern hemisphere. The reindeer help Santa Claus deliver presents at Christmas time. This is a horse. It can carry goods and people. There are so many amazing animals that live in the world. I'm so glad my teacher gave me this book. By the way, we had singing class today at school. I learnt a lovely song.
Wow, that's great. Go ahead and sing it.
Okay. The rose in the valley is blooming so sweet, and angels descend there the children to greet.
Now that's such a beautiful song.
Sat outside talking as the clock tower struck 5. And almost at the same moment, Kay felt something fall in his eye. He rubbed his eyes and splashed water on it, but whatever it was wouldn't come out. It was one of the splinters from the magic mirror. Another piece struck his heart, and even though it didn't hurt him, it slowly changed his heart into a lump of ice. Poor Kay had changed. He looked at the roses and made a face.
How ugly those roses are. They are crooked and dull,
said Kay. Gerda was surprised. Kay had never spoken like that before. She brought out her book of animals, and they looked at it as they had done many times. But Kay closed the book shut and said,
I don't want to look at these ugly, horrid animals.
Kay was so grumpy and unkind that Gerda left sadly. When she came to listen to Grandma's stories, she was surprised to see Kay smirking. He stood behind Grandma and imitated the way she told stories.
He's never done anything like this before,
thought Gerda.
What's happened to Kay?
Kay imitated others too, and it wasn't pleasant at all to watch him. Time passed by quickly, and before long it was winter again. All the little boys and girls in the town went to play in the snow. Kay hardly ever played with Gerda now. One day he took his sled and went to play with the other boys. The boldest boys often tied their sleds onto a carriage or cart and took a great ride. Kay was feeling very bold that day. When he found a pure white sled passing by, he decided that he would tie his sled onto it. Inside the carriage was a woman wrapped in white fur, and she wore a matching white fur cap. The sled rushed through the snowy slopes, and Kay found it very enjoyable at first. But when it picked up speed and crossed the town, Kay was very frightened. Finally, the sled stopped. The lady stepped out and called over to Kay.
Come here and sit with me. You look cold. I'll wrap you in my bearskin.
She wrapped Kay and kissed him on the forehead. The kiss was colder ice, and it went all the way to his frozen heart. As the sled took off again, the Snow Queen kissed him once more. Kay forgot his grandma, parents, and Gerda. He cuddled up near the Snow Queen's feet and slept.
I'll show you the games we like to play.